Let's start with the moon, for example. I'm sure you heard of a farmer's almanac. The farmers do not plant when they feel like. And even though our infantile science is negating the power of the moon, without the moon gravitational forces, there would be no tide. The twice daily tide would not exist. And I'm not saying that we are potatoes, but you might find it difficult in time of a full moon to put your ring, and you will understand the subconscious words of being moody, lunatic, or crabby, which is in reference to somebody born in July, or the power of the moon upon water signs. Now, in terms of doing earthquake predictions, again, I've used my software, and I'm looking for a planet called Uranus. And when Uranus, which happens to be the planet of sudden release of energy, when this planet is proeminent, it allowed me to inarguably predict the two tsunamis that took place in Asia, one in Japan and one in Thailand. So you get a moonic window, which are controlled by the moon and create a different set of news. Then you have the uranic window, which is the sudden release of energy that produce explosions or natural disaster, volcanic eruption, and large earthquakes. Then you have the plutonic window. These are extraordinarily dangerous because they relate to terrorism, to the police. Each time a police officer gets shot, you can be sure this window is proeminent. And I have tried for years to reach the law enforcement executive, trying to explain to them how important it would be for the police academy to teach those windows to the cops, so this way they would be back home safe and sound. But they didn't hear me so far, and so is NASA. Never heard me when I begged them not to send the shuttle on a negative windows and producing the deaths of 7 astronauts, and they're doing it again. Luckily, right now they are doing it the same thing. They want to send the shuttle. They are not listening to the omens. The first omen was that there was a lot of ice before the shuttle took off and exploded. 2 or 3 times they had to replan to launch the shuttle because Mercury was retrograde, exactly like now. They don't pay attention to the omens. And I have on my website asked everybody to pray and help me to stop the shuttle being launched before next new moon, and it seems to have worked so far because they are rescheduling the launch. There are also the moonic windows, and these are the windows that usually forces people to relocate again due to natural disaster. And I believe Mike, my pit bull, which I apologize to everybody about Mike. Mike is extraordinarily protective. He's a student, he's a kid, with a mind of his own, very, very protective. And I believe he told me he posted the next SOS windows that I generated for May, and that will give the opportunity for your audience and for WebBot to check on my predictive values.
We did see that. Thank you. The next question we have is a follow-up from Sandra.
Okay.
Okay, Sandra, I think she's just having some technical difficulties at the moment. What I'll do is I'll ask the question for her.
You bet.
This question is from Sandra. Are you on the line now?
I am for the moment. We'll see how long it lasts.
Let's stop this Mercury retrograde. We'll leave you alone long enough to finish that conversation. Go ahead, honey.
Well, I do appreciate your information because I was curious about your Mercury retrograde being different than what I'd researched myself. I have a follow-up question from one of our forum members named Sag Moon, which gives you probably a little astrological information on the person.
Yes, Sag Moon, yes. That tells me a lot already. I can already tell you. You just hold on to your question because I channel immediately when something connects to the stars. Sag Moon has a lot of past life with the Mayan, the Incas, and the Sumerian. He has a tremendous past life with the Indians, and I don't know him from Adam or Eve, but it's probably a very highly spiritual person. Okay, keep going, please.
Well, here's the question. what was written is, you use the term astropsychologist to describe yourself, and the quote from your website says, "No, I am not a psychic, but an astropsychologist.
Correct.
And all that I do is real and based on over 35 years of strenuous research," end of quote.
Yes.
The question is, how does one become or attain a title such as astropsychologist, which seems to imply an educational or clinical background in psychology?
Well, basically, the best way to do is to become one of my students. I teach live courses, and that's 7 or 8 hours a day, non-stop for at least a week. Or you could take the course, the home course, and read all the books and digest the 16 CD, all the DVDs, and get to your questionnaire and answer, and then you graduate, basically. But one has to understand that I am not a psychic and I do not predict anything. That's very crucial that you understand that. You and I know very well that nature has a very specific pattern. The seasons are coming back. History tends to repeat itself, and so are the news. That's where I did create those specific 4 windows, the Uranic, Moonic, Plutonic windows. Those 3 set windows, which I wouldn't say embellished, but help those that are highly spiritual to perceive my message with the quatrain, which are written in a Nostradamus way, for those born with a highly spiritual Pisces or Cancer or Scorpio Mercury. And the keywords are for those who have more of a logistic approach to life, those that have a rational, earthly, down-to-earth, practical mind. So I'm trying to reach both those that are highly spiritual and those that you may classify either as scientists or skeptics. And of course, by giving the date, anybody can trace it from when I first started in 1991 to do this work. So become a student. That's the best way to learn, and anyone can do it, mostly because there is no mathematics involved. If you are particularly intuitive, you will become a very, very proficient astropsychologist, because metaphor, intuition, and science are primarily used once you understand the structure of the housing system. Do I make sense to you?
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Turi. I'm sure Sag Moon will appreciate your information on her chart, and I have to admit I appreciate it too as another Sagittarius moon. And I do appreciate your answer.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And then remember what I teach my students: a magnet will not attract a piece of wood. People can only relate to me because of their education, their intelligence, their experiences, but most of all because of their stars, or what I call their UCI. Again, it's something that you have to keep in consideration.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Dr. Turi. The next question comes from Lolly.
Okay, Lolly, I'm all ears for you.
Can you explain for us in layman's terms what you mean by the cosmic code and universal cosmic consciousness and the individual code that you frequently refer to?
Okay. The cosmic code is nothing else than God's manifestation. That's why the Bible says, I will talk to you, you won't hear me, I will present myself to you, you won't see me. One has to raise his cosmic consciousness or enter the intuitional domain or understand the very word understand. If you want to build something on top of your house, you have to go above and you have to look, design it, see it, understand it. Then you have to go under to see how it's going to stand. So if you go into God's creation, the cosmic code, and you see how you stand under, He will give you more cosmic consciousness. Is that clear? Clear enough?
Yes. Is it another way to describe that, the divine blueprint? I've heard you use that phrase before. Is that?
Well, yes. Every one of us has been, and again, in lack of words, I'm using the terms computerized. You have been computerized. because of your karma. The amount of work you have done in previous past life will become your gift. You ain't gonna be teaching Mozart or Beethoven to play piano. At a very early age, they were already musical geniuses. If somebody has been working in mathematics many previous past lives, at the age of 12 or 13 years old in this current reincarnation, this child will be a mathematical genius. So for every action, there is an equal reaction. So if you put a very large amount of effort, or if you throw something up, you could be sure it will come down to you. That's called karma. So you have been computerized by those stars. They speak between themselves in a way that affects your mind. Your mind is nothing else than a computer that is set, a flesh, meat, and blood computer that is set to react to an outside stimuli, which means there is no difference between your brain or the one of Einstein, mine, or a killer. It's exactly the same weight, the same function, even the same wiring. What's different is the outside program that I call the UCI, or Unique Celestial Identity. And in the future, when astropsychology will finally be accepted as a solid, trustworthy discipline in our college universities, people, especially the teachers, will know immediately how a person is set to respond to certain type of information. And this is why, prior to the show, I have asked, and I thank all of you for that, to give me the month of your birth, which allows me to connect to your third house, which is the way you think, the way you talk, the way you perceive information, or even generate information. So that's your critical thinking. So looking at it, when cosmic consciousness is reinstated and God's tools finally understood and used appropriately, the judgment between each human being will not be based upon human 5 small senses and shortcomings which happen to be part of side and half of the mixture. So you'll be less judgmental, you'll be more objective, and you will realize why this person likes politics and why this one can't stand it, why this person is a fantastic artist, and when this one cannot even carry a tune in a bucket. You know, you would understand the human differences, and you would adapt the teaching in relationships to the UCI of a person. The sad reality is our current educational system keeps firing teachers non-stop, hiding behind their own ignorance and stupidity of God's rules. And that's where the problem is. So once everything is back in place, and work in harmony with God's creation, or the stars for that matter, and his world will definitely be in a much happier, safer place.
Well, thank you for that. That would be good. So what's the essential difference then between cosmic consciousness and imagination?
That's again a very, very sophisticated question. Imagination can get very wild. Usually it's coming from your early experiences. So you can have a set of twins, for example. Both of them have the same UCI. They were born pretty much at the same time, and they will display and feed each other for the rest of their life. They'll be pretty much the same. However, the difference will be when one of the twins is inside of the house celebrating his birthday with music and cake and dance and love, while his brother is stuck outside fighting with a bunch of people that corner him